not true about universal health care in the 1950s. The American Medical Association opposed universal care. That's definitely true. So this one, labor union supported it. That's not true. So, like in that case, the answer is pretty clearly B. The UK system is most like veterans. Went over that a couple times. Individual mandate was included for adverse selection. Didn't really have anything to do with moral hazard or supplier-induced demand. Which is the following is examples of asymmetric information, and they're all examples. And questions like that, usually if we find there's two of them that look like they're asymmetric information, probably means they're all asymmetric information. Medi-Cal coverage provides, in this case, B and C, so it doesn't really provide care for people over 65. I gave credit though if you said it, because I basically gave credit to whatever you answer in this one, because I thought, well, okay, I guess technically, if you're over 65 and you qualify for in nursing home care, then I guess technically it does. So Medi-Cal does. So I gave everyone credit for this question. The reason it was hard for doctors in rural areas is they saw too few patients a day. Which of the following would not be considered a primary health care provider? A lot of people said this one, which I was surprised. That's what most people think of as primary health care provider. So I wondered, did people not see the not? But then quite a few people got correct. So, according to the argument presented in the lecture, why were Republicans so unable to repeal the ACA? Is because they wanted to keep the no pre-existing conditions clause. Which of the following is true of Kaiser? Kaiser must see patients. Some people said that they focused on low-income vulnerable populations, but that's not really, that has not traditionally been what Kaiser did. Oregon one was all about needs and wants. The universal socialized medicine is made not to pass Truman's healthcare plan, but actually to kill Truman's healthcare plan. It was actually just to tie universal healthcare to communism. Which is the difference between a copayment and a deductible? It's this one here. A copayment is a fixed payment for amount of total fee, etc. What's meant by a level of fair premiums? The level that where the expected insurance claims equals the premiums. Intolerant, people without health care being able to get hospital care. That's what happened with intolerant. And then asthma, chronic condition. Model for the ACA was the Massachusetts Healthcare Plan. Concept of physicians seeing themselves as scientists came after the introduction of Fox report. So that was after that. Advances in medicine that occurred resulted in the principal agent problem, because basically doctors became more sophisticated in terms of being able to do things. Blue Cross Blue Shield, 30s, decreased government regulation. There was actually more government regulation. Calls to have universal health care for all. Suppose your 70-year-old grandmother had a fall or broken hip. Well, Medi-Cal should qualify because Medi-Cal only covers elderly care. If you care for the elderly in certain circumstances, if you have low income. Which is the following is true about the impacts of the Affordable Care Act. Enrollment in Medicaid has increased in all states, but that's not true, because some states didn't adopt Medicaid expansion. Patent medicines became popular because many people in rural areas had no other access to health care. Most people got that right. Medi-Cal care introduced DRGs to control costs of health care, which is an example of adverse of moral hazard, doctors trying to increase unnecessary use of healthcare by their patients.
Collect.
The RAND experiment introduced a small copayment that led to decreased healthcare usage by patients. Oregon 2, all those things are true. Adverse events became more in the nation 1980s because healthcare had become more complex. Other things that made it so is that there's so many large data sets where people identify that. For the most part of this healthcare.
Dude, it's just the fucking
Rescission refers to insurance companies refusing to pay for treatment because their patient did those pre-existing conditions. Here's the definition of rescission. Which is true of medically underserved areas, too few doctors and too few hospitals. Which is the following is true of regulation. So this is one where I gave credit for any of them. Because, the medical care providers work closely with public health to develop the safety net. Not really, but at the same time, I could sort of see where you might think. For some of them, I think, well, they weren't against it. And so they would have been supportive of public health. So even though the way I wrote it was like, when I wrote the question, just thinking, is that well, they were close to each other. They didn't work with it at all. But I guess I could see why a lot of people said things, so I gave you credit for it. Infant mortality basically is, in this case, these two things. It's a topic that people care about, and it tells us about the efficiency of the healthcare system. So it's a direct comparison. Thankfully, most people got this one right. That's sign. That's great. What does Medicare cover? Part A covers hospitalizations. A family member had cancer and was treated at the University of UC Davis Cancer Center. UC Davis would be a church group for that. I suppose the research finds that healthcare system is too complicated for people. If the health department wants to address this failure of integration of care, then the best option would be, in this case, case manager. And finally, what's true of people who have no insurance will most of them have employment. I also look at whether or not class changes. In terms of, because I asked you before how often you come to class, and I walked away from that thinking, a lot of people didn't tell me the truth. Because when I looked at it, most people said, oh, I always come to class. And I thought, how many people are here today? 2, 4, 6, 8. About 20 people here. So there's about class here today. So it's mostly like that. So I can't really say that most people come to class all the time. So it's hard for me to say. What I think, I don't know what I should ask you. Why do you think that? Because it's pretty much a similar type of test that I did for years. I changed around the questions, but not that much. So it's a pretty similar type of test. Any ideas of how to improve the finding? I have a theory. I think it's because I think that as I put the lectures on YouTube, is that people think, they don't really need to come to class or pay attention because it's on YouTube. And what I worry about is that on YouTube, you don't really process it, right? Because you can kind of just turn it on and watch it. And the thing about any type of information, class, not just this one, but any of them, is that you have to process it. That's why, there was a pretty significant debate when PowerPoint came along, because a lot of people said we shouldn't give PowerPoint slides, because what happened with PowerPoint, because it used to be, I physically could give out copies of PowerPoint slides back then, and they didn't mind us doing all this work. So I'd give out copies. I wouldn't make them available online, but give out copies so people can take notes. I thought, well, you know, that's better because then they don't have to go through and actually, you don't have to type it in or write these things out. They can just write notes on the PowerPoint slide. And now what I worry about just putting online is that there's never any point that people actually process the information. It's too easy just to kind of read through, especially if I give you a one-page sheet, and it's too easy to read through it. I'll just put notes on it. So what do you think? Should we stop giving out PowerPoint slides? And just give them out and print them off and give them off paper for those who come? Or stop putting them on YouTube? What would be helpful?
I know it's been there down there, but might as well leave it. Still in the circle.
How many would say stop putting them on YouTube versus now?
What do I really even use? I've always used it.
So keep them on YouTube. I mean, my problem is that I think that, you know, people who study like it have on YouTube because you can go back to it. So that's why I don't want to look at that. How many people who actually want to use it as a learning tool? It sounds weird to say. Well, I'm going to make people learn by not giving them much information. Make the people come to class. This is a university.
I fuck with this, bro. Like, this song, I wish y'all could.
So anyways, we'll go on this before, but just let you know, I won't put this nice on the final. I went through and I gave the grading scale as if this was a final, right? And as if I was forced to give you, you know, and I could, like, you know, normally would I sit there and give 50%, people at 50%, like B minus? No. But at the same time, I'm not going to fail 2/3 of the class. So I'll take this as a sign that, you know, that. So I don't know what you do in the test because really the questions
Two more big pods. There wasn't one of the big pods.
So just don't. I'm not convinced that somehow it was a harder test. But I'll take it into consideration when I write the final to try and, you know, make sure it's more direct along the way. But at the same time, I think people should, you know, reconsider studying how you're studying and make sure that you're doing it in a way that you are actually processing information. Okay, any questions about the final? If you want to go through your final, I mean your midterm, come to office hours or just zoom in, because you know, I zoom in office hours. So if you want to just zoom in on office hours and not go through it. But it's pretty straightforward. It's like it wasn't like, because there's no open-ended questions. So there wasn't much interpretation like the lab. Yeah.
Or I could do this. 6. That's what 6 regular, 6 super splashes.
Well, I would say, so if you ask, right now, what's your best indication of your grade? It would be this, right? Because, you know, the assignments are 50 points, the midterm is 100 points, the second midterm is 150 points. So, you know, right now, I would say probably this is probably the best indication of your grade is. So when the final comes, what I do is I take the final exam, and I add in this number of points here, and I add in the assignment points, and then I sort of figure out the distribution based on that. So so essentially is that I don't go through and record your letter grades along the way. And if you go back and look at the first assignment, the first lecture, I went through and recorded detail about how I do the grading. So you can go back and see that. But essentially, it means I just take care of it. I keep track of points.
I ran into nobody.
Other questions?
I mean, I did kind of land in
Okay, the other thing is that, I realize there's a lot of slides. There's a lot of information. So that and I do it because there's no book. And so the slides basically count as the book. I've also put a couple of readings on for this time. And so, the readings are the same things that I'll feel free to ask about the readings on the final. So I kind of expect people to sort of treat the documents almost like a book as you go through. So if it was me, what I would do is I would, kind of go through it regularly, just kind of make up little summaries about what it was that, what the important things were in the lecture. Because I don't really ask you, I don't really go to ask you about specific details or things. It's mostly pretty broad concepts. And then if you look at the terms that people talk about, not 100% on the questions right now. So if you knew the terms and knew kind of what that's what socialized medicine is that it's going to outline it. So what the questions are. Good.
I get too far away from it because he stopped.
Alright. Alright, we're going to switch gears. No more about being a doctor. Now it's about the viability of Medicare. So I'm not sure if you've been following, the new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson, one of the things that he was not well known by anyone for Speaker of the House last week. But one thing the thing he was known about is that he was one of the people that Congress who tried to get maybe see that Trump stay out. But the other thing that he's known about is that people is one of the advocates for wanting to slash Medicaid. So there's going to be a government shutdown in another 2 weeks.
I know.
And they're going to shut it down because what this group of Republicans that Mike Johnson's group wants to do is that they're saying is that they want to make massive slashes to Medicaid and also the Social Security as well. So one thing they're talking about is raising the age by which you get Medicare from 65 to 70, raising the age that you get Social Security from 65 to 70, and then also coming through for Medi-Cal, basically, Medicaid, slashing the eligibility for Medicaid. So if they got what they wanted in terms of the budget, what it means that Medicare and Medicaid would be significantly reduced. We'd probably be talking more about 25 to 30 million people would be without health insurance by the end of that. So why? Why are they doing that? Well, partly it's because there's always been a strain within the Republican Party that didn't like government programs. I didn't like large government programs. So, for Ronald Reagan, let's say, right? Reagan was a prime example of this type of view. He would talk about the Canadian system and the UK system to Rice. I said, these are government systems, totally run, doesn't give people what they want, and that what we need to have is this private system, so a privatization. So there's always been this non-enthusiasm about Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, but mostly Medicare, from Republicans throughout. At the same time, there's a problem with Medicare, and there's a problem. Well, in more general, there's a problem that all of you are going to face, not some community, but all of you are going to face in the near future. So I'm going to give you a basic lesson in
we kill them all.
So, show me if you know this. 3 levels of the federal government. Federal, state, and local. You know that. So county is the local, state is California, and then there's the federal government. Main sources of people that come into for tax revenue will be for the federal and state tax. So So that's what you pay. Right? For states, California is mostly.
I know there's been a lot of talk about it in the background, and a lot of people really wanted me to say something about what happened to me.
Property taxes. Not so much in California, because anyone know why California is different? Close. Prop 13. Yeah, Proposition 13 was passed back in 1978, I think it was. Where basically what it did is it limited the amount of property taxes that you pay to 1% of the value of the property. So if you bought a property in 1975 for $100,000, then your property taxes is $100, right? Not $1,000. $100,000, so 1%. On the other hand, so every year.
How does Taco Bell not have a breakfast taco?
Yeah,
You have all the ingredients: fluffy eggs, melty cheese, savory sausage.
$1,000. So it's like whatever you bought the property, that's what your property taxes are. If someone else comes and buys that property for $20 million, then they get taxed off the property taxes 1% $20 million. But if you don't sell it, so people who own lots of property and haven't sold it means that they're paying much less taxes than everybody else. It also means that counties can't just come in and raise money, get money to pay for roads or whatever they want to do by going through and raising property taxes. So what happened in California when Proposition 13 passed was that all these counties started looking at the broke because they just had all the revenue slashed. And so the state went through and said, well, we'll give you money. So the state gives you up their income tax and it gives money to the counties. Well, that's good, except for if there's like a down economic, like there's going to be this year, which means the state this year has a lot less income coming in than last year. So as a result, the state's going to have to do some radical slashing of things. And the county money is going to be from as well, because the state's money comes from income tax, and that they then have to go through. So it's the same thing. So the state have the same type of problem you would. If you were working and making $40,000 a year, and suddenly, your boss came through and said, "Oh, hey, this year we're only going to give you $30,000," and you'd be in trouble because you would say to yourself, I have been using $40,000.
Bloodshot roaring grape combined with one
so,
scoop of the bubble gum.
What you do normally
the grape
is that
bubble
you
gum
keep
hostility.
slash my
So that's actually
expenses,
perfect.
or I have to borrow money.
I'm gonna run through that
Those two things.
before I empty
But that's the
out
same
any
thing
of
for
my
the
other
federal
fucking
government too.
prees.
Except the federal government has another
But
option. And the federal government,
let's
and that
just
option
jump
is
straight into what's about to get
they
thrown
basically
around.
print money.
So
Right? The federal government makes money, so they can look at
I was gonna make it like a little bit of something to say at the end of the video, but
they run the deficit.
this is the last fucking day of the cut, man. We're freaking done
All right.
with this. Honestly,
So this is the revenues.
I think I'm probably just gonna fucking jump start the bulk tonight.
Revenues
So,
was
I guess by
2.63
technicality,
trillion.
this lift is
So
still a
remember,
portion of
trillion
the cut
is,
because I'm still, I've only had like 1,500 calories today
let's see,
so
so
far.
trillion is
So this is not a bulk lift, but
4.9.
I'll still call this like the
4.9
end of the cut, like the last day, because it's not like I bulked the whole
That's
day, but the
4,
floodgates are going to be opened
9,
after this
0,
chest
0,
pump.
0,
I think I'm going to
0,
stop at
0,
Cane's or
0,
something, get some
0,
kind of
0,
fucking
0, right?
treat.
Hundreds,
I'll have to
thousands,
totally refill my
millions,
kitchen.
billions,
I don't
trillion.
know if I'll
So that's how much money
get a
that
whole little bulk
the government
grocery haul, whatever,
brings in
soonish.
in taxes.
But
How much money? What's the size of the whole economy?
I'm getting freaking excited.
What do you
Oh
think?
my goodness. Let's not,
They bring in
let's
4.9
not overstep too far.
size
I
of the
still
whole
gotta
economy
finish this
is
sick
about
ass
18
chest day.
trillion.
Right, I gotta focus on what's at hand. So, incline barbell bench is
About 18.
probably gonna be the main
And they bring
heavy
in
lift,
about 4.9
or
trillion
like,
taxes.
the heavy
So yeah, you can see that
sets
that's
for
about
chest.
maybe
And then there's a
little bit
machine
less than
press,
third
which I kind of
of
like.
all
There's a couple
size of
cables
the
which I could do some solid,
those
like
that-
bent over
those
cable
that
chest
go
press with. Now, by then, I'll already be like pre-fatigued from my
government
actual heavy
expenses
working
is
sets of
6
chest.
point-
But,
6
after the
two
first half of a chest day, like that's when I want in that first half, that's when I want to have finished my really
Is
heavy
government
pressing,
expenses.
like incline dumbbell, incline Smith,
And if you look at
strength
that,
press, stuff like that. And towards the end, like that second half of the chest day, you know, I don't want to just do lighter squeezing movements like pec deck, flies, cable presses,
income
whatever.
security, which is kind of a
So maybe just a couple sets of incline barbell, and then I'll just kind of go from there. You know, I might even have to dictate the lift based on how busy it is. Because sometimes you gotta work in. Some people are hogging machines. Just part of the game with public gyms, you know. You're a chump if it
revenue
really upsets you.
4.9.
That's
Expenses
it's not
6.2.
like they should know I need to use this machine.
That means that the
The situation is
about
okay. I can't use this machine.
1.38
What can I
trillion
use? You know, and the better you are at that,
in money coming
the
in.
better your lifts are going to be.
This is money coming
If
in.
I had a really rigid routine locked into my
So
mind for
that,
chest,
the difference between
and I
those two
wanted to
things is
do
called a
3 sets of incline Smith, or 3 sets of incline barbell
deficit.
on this
So
particular
every
rack,
year, so it
with
means
this
that
particular
in
bench, with this particular bar, and then I want to move on to the pec deck.
$1.3 trillion.
If I had a locked-in routine like
Which
that,
means that the
and
government
we
spent
didn't accommodate
1.3
for
trillion more than
unforeseen circumstances, like if somebody's on it or if it's broken or whatever, then
So this is what it
you
looks
can
like.
have a bad
Right,
lift.
so here's your spending.
Right, for me, I'm very fluid
Here's
with
your deficit,
training,
what the revenue
in the
is,
sense
that's
that I have a
what it is.
basic idea of what I'm going to do, and I've been lifting for so long, and I kind of have done
is
so
that
many different
unusual?
kinds of workouts.
Well, this shows the amount of
I
deficits
just
over
kind of
time.
know,
So
all
going
right,
from
this is
that,
taken, okay, I'll do this
period
instead.
here.
And half the time when I make that little
So
decision,
you
in
notice
my
that
mind,
in 2000,
it's not even like I
there
run
was
through
actually
the pros and cons
surplus.
list of like what
So surplus
alternatives,
was
what
right.
choices I
That's
have.
because
It
when
just kind of
Clinton was
becomes
in office,
subconscious after a
is
while.
that there was a
Like,
tax
the hammer
increase,
strength press is
and also there was a
it's taken. Okay, I'll do
And
Smith.
so when tax revenues go
Oh,
up,
all the bars are taken. Okay, I'll do
it's that,
dumbbell.
when the economy goes
Back deck's
good,
taken. All right,
tax
I'll go to
revenues
cable
go up.
flies.
Because you have to remember is that this
Once chest is done,
$18 trillion
got side
is
delts
that
and
if
calves
you
at
go
the
into
end.
a recession,
Side delts is pretty
then this
basic.
maybe
I'm just gonna
falls
spam
down
lateral
to
raises.
$16 trillion.
I think
And if you go into
I'll
a
decide
expansion,
how
maybe this goes to
it
20 trillion.
looks. But
So,
for the most part,
since
my
income
shoulders
is
are pretty
actually
much,
based on income,
you know,
it means that the
not
more,
overly developed. Like they're
the better
not
the
just
country
jumping out
does,
at
the
you.
more income,
Like what the fuck?
but
But,
the more revenue.
you know,
that the
relative to my
government gets.
arms, they are kind of big
Same thing
enough,
with the state.
especially
Like
like
last
back
year
double buy shots
was a
and
banner
stuff like
year
that.
for the state.
So I
They
think
had
as
a
this bulk
huge,
progresses, I may
surplus
start
because they had
skipping
a really
side
booming
and rear
state
delts
economy.
again. But for now, I'll leave them in the
And they have a
routine.
booming state
I'll just
economy,
kind of
you
see
don't
how
spend
I
as much on
fill up.
Medicaid,
You know, because
things
over
like
this
that.
next week
And so they had a big
of
surplus.
just eating
This year,
5,000,
they
6,000
don't have
calories per day,
The state economy, the revenues have gone down.
I'm gonna jump
So
up
therefore,
from,
the state is
you know,
facing-
233. That was my
deficit.
morning weight this morning, to
but
probably at
states can't
least
run a
240,
deficit.
maybe
The
even
state
like
of California
242.
can't. They can't go
But that's
out
just,
and
I'm not totally sure about that.
their
I'll have to see.
expenses. So they
And that's not
actually
muscle, that's just gonna
find the money
be
someplace.
intramuscular, like
Cut
water,
expenses,
like
raise more revenue. or they have to
sarcoplasm, if you want to get real fancy with it,
have a
shit
pot
like
of
that.
money that they can draw from.
That's that
But
initial
Federal
jump
government doesn't
is
do
just me
that.
transitioning
Federal government
from a
has a
relatively
different
empty state way down
1.3
here, because I
trillion,
haven't been eating
and
a surplus, I've actually
they
been
can raise the
eating
money.
in a
How does
slight
the
deficit.
federal- well,
So
let me
right now I'm in a
finish
very
this.
empty
So you
state.
notice it's like
For the
here,
most part,
big
if you were to
increases in the
you know,
deficit.
zoom in on the gas
Well, you
tanks
can just track
that
it
are my
over
freaking
time.
biceps,
So
right?
here-
They're running on low
Here's the,
in terms of their
there was a mini
intramuscular
recession in
glycogen.
2000.
But after this next
And
week,
notice how
I'm
the
like
deficit goes up.
treats, cereal,
Deficit goes
donuts,
up because
which
Bush,
zoom in even further, right?
President
Just a
George
fucking
W.
ton
Bush
of carbs.
put through a
After
tax
this next
cut.
week, I'm gonna launch up
Tax cuts
because
tend
each
to
of those little
increase
gas tanks in
deficit.
my fucking muscles are gonna be
Cutting taxes.
totally
You're
full.
cutting the amount of
And
revenue
keeping
that
them
comes.
that way
So you cut taxes, so,
probably in your best
have an
interest
increase,
in terms of
and
actually
then
growing.
big jump here.
The
Why
whole
was
point
there
of
a big
being
jump
in a
here in
surplus
2010?
is you are taking in so many calories, so much energy, that the amount you need to just
What happened in
maintain
2010?
how big you are, you hit that limit and then you exceed it. So this
Now,
extra energy your body has to
Obamacare
do
actually
something
pays
with.
for itself.
So when
When
you
they
couple
passed it,
that
they
with
made so
some
that they
serious
taxed
weight
on
training,
the Obama- for the,
if I were to just eat the amount of food
taxed
that I'm
on
going to eat
devices.
over the course of the next few months,
So actually, the
with
Obamacare
zero
didn't
cardio,
have
with
that
zero
device.
training, I would just,
Now, this was at the big
Obese.
recession in 2010,
but
and then
when you
the
couple
economy almost
a solid
goes into
caloric
depression.
surplus
And so when you
with
hit the big
the
recession,
stress
they spend money
of weight training,
because the government's
ideally cardio,
trying to support people's income.
we won't get into that right
So
know,
then it gets better.
then your
And then
body's
here
going
you
to be able
go,
to
and
use
suddenly
that
there's
energy to repair
the
itself.
Trump tax
You know,
cuts
because
kind of
lifting
disappeared.
isn't just like an
And
activity.
then COVID
You're
hits.
stressing your
And
system.
so when COVID hit,
Right?
the
Your
government's
mind, your
basically
whole
just
little
being
whatever is going on in your nervous system.
So is that bad?
Your chest is
that the
fucked
government
right
runs
now.
a deficit like
You
this
gotta
when
do
COVID
something
hits?
about it, right? And then it's gonna recover, rebuild
No,
itself
not
stronger.
necessarily. I mean, if you think about what they did in
That's the
COVID,
fucking name of the
is
game.
that you had a free fall,
So,
right? Free fall.
by that same logic,
And businesses just stopped.
you want a couple of
So
solid
if
surplus
they have the steps
with
to do,
as
then you would
intense
see massive
of a
numbers
training
businesses
stimulus as
go
possible.
out of business.
So
And that's
basic
bad,
gist,
you know, because
eat
it's hard
hard,
for businesses to start.
lift
over.
hard,
So if GM goes out of
freaking,
business,
you're
it's
definitely in the
hard for
golden
GM to
zone
start.
as
Kickstart
far as
becomes
I
GM.
can, as far as I
So,
would say.
you know, it's generally
So,
seen that
oh my God.
during the recession, during bad things that happen, is that there's a role for government to do that.
Okay, I better.
But the idea is
Let's just
that
get
in
started.
good
Let's.
times,
I'm gonna go in and do my
is that
little
you
warm
want
up,
to pay it off.
and then we can cut
So
to
maybe
where the
like
first working set is gonna be.
in good times, in bad times.
One
that
thing you
yes,
need to do
can spend
before
this
buying
money
anything
here
online,
if you have
don't
a
spend
recession,
another dime on
or here
Amazon
if
until
you
you.
But the idea is that in these other periods, is
All
that
right,
you
as
should be
predicted, I probably would have preferred if I could do some
And the reason is,
incline
well, first off, so how does,
machines, but they
how
got
does
rid
the
of
government
two
raise this money? So
perfectly
they're
good Smith
$1.3
machines at this gym for no
trillion
reason.
short. So how do they
Not
raise the money?
ideal, to say the least. But still gonna have a good set with a good barbell.
They can.
So let's just
but they
play
don't.
let's just
Well, I mean,
play
not directly.
My Brother
How
from
do they raise
Berserk,
the money?
a little metal remix, and
They sell treasury
we should
bonds.
get this for at least
So
15.
treasury
I'm
bonds
gonna aim for
are
100.
the treasury of the U.S. Treasury. They, you know, they're the ones who have to raise the money to pay off the bills. So what happens is that the Treasury comes through, and that they have $1.3 trillion in deficit. So they sell these bonds, and these bonds say that, you know, people buy the bond. Like if you have an investment in a retirement account, typically you have government bonds in retirement. So what that means is that the government is selling, like sometimes they're 30-day bonds, sometimes they're 60-day bonds, sometimes they're 120-day or a year bond. They sell these bonds. People give them money, and then in return, you get back. So if you buy a bond for $1,000, right, for a year,
There's no way I was gonna get one
what
more.
do you get back at the end of the year?
Oh. I think I might be still feeling some fatigue from that leg
get
day yesterday. That was a
$1,000
really
back.
good lift.
Plus,
Let's try this with one more set in the same weight, and then I think I'll probably move on to
so
something
you get
else.
interest rate back at the end of the year. So that's what the government does. The government looks at the interest rates. I mean, the government looks at how much money we have to spend, and they say, well, we have $1.3 trillion that we have to raise right now. We're short. So what we do is we go out there and sell treasury bonds. Who buys the treasury bonds? The investors, like, what do foreign countries buy treasury bonds? Yeah, China buys a lot of treasury bonds. So why does China buy treasury bonds? Well, if you think about, you know, if you go over here to Target.
Let's move on to a
and you
machine
look at all
or
these
something.
products, and all these products are made in China.
Kind of
So what
just
does that
because
mean?
I
Is
don't
that
want to go
they're
light
being
it
made in
in 3
China.
plates.
And then
So
China then brings them over.
yeah, let's
sells
move
them,
on to something
and
else.
they get sort of, you know, US dollars for their treasury, for their,
Alright,
their
yeah.
goods. So what does China
I
do?
kind of talk smack
They have
on
all
this
these
chest
US
press.
dollars.
'Cause,
Well, they could
you know,
go
I don't
and
know,
turn
something
back
about it,
into
it just,
Chinese yuan, whatever it is.
I
Turn it
think
back
I'm just a
into
hater on
Chinese
machines
currency.
when
And
they
then
have a
we'll buy
ton of
these in China.
cables and pulleys and
But they don't
random
want to
stuff
do that
when, you know, my
because,
favorite chest presses are hammer
if
strike
they did that,
machines,
then the
which
value of the Chinese
it's just a
currency
lever arm.
goes down.
But I do get a pretty good contraction here, so
And so what the Chinese
let's just throw the
government
stack
does
around
is
for a
that
couple.
they
Another heavy,
part of this money
brutish
that's
kind of
sitting
set.
in US dollars, and then they buy things in the US. So they buy billboards, and they buy treasury bonds, and things like that. So they use it for other purposes. So a lot of countries buy US treasury bonds, and then because they want to, you know, they have US dollars to sell, and then what they want to do is they buy things in the US, so they buy things in other countries with the US dollars. So that's why when they talk about the US dollar being the primary currency in the world, that's the reason why. That's the
Alright,
biggest
let's do
economy.
one more just
And
like
all
that.
these countries will get these US dollars.
It's not like I want to do all of my sets in my whole
So then they
workout
turn around
with
rather
that
than
sort of like
converting it back into their currency.
quickness and rapidness and just, you know, moving around a ton of weight.
Okay.
But I do feel like I can deal a lot of useful
So then
damage
there's
to my
the debt.
pecs by way of doing
So what
sets
the
like
debt
that, at least in the
is
beginning.
the debt is
And then, you know, maybe fast
the
forward 3 sets
accumulation
from now,
of all of
I'll be on the pec deck,
the deficits.
really controlled,
So if you think
squeezing,
about, like, you know,
crazy
this year they
contraction,
have
going for that burn.
$1.3 trillion.
I think an even mix of like
in deficit.
fucking
That
throw
means they
shit
owe
around
$1.3 trillion.
and control shit and squeeze it hard.
Last year, they
It'll
also
come together to a solid fucking
And so
stimulus for
what
whatever
happens
muscle you're
to the
targeting.
deficit from last year?
Obviously, use your best
Well, they
judgment,
still
but
owe
you get the idea.
because
One more
back
here.
here, I need to put together a little stuff because I got obsessive about this. An Excel file show. So let's say that your income was $40,000 and your expenses were $47,000. Okay? So that means that you're 7,000 in the hole. So if you're 7,000 in the hole, you know, from a year, what can you do? Well, you could either get more money. It's one thing to do, right? Try and
We're
get a
done on
raise.
this machine. Let's
You can go through and try and cut your expenses.
do something else.
So from
Not sure what,
$47,000.
definitely a solid start.
Try to balance
I'd say,
your budget.
like I was talking about
Or
in the
you could
car,
borrow money.
the first half of the lift,
So let's say you
the
borrow
heavy
money.
shit,
You borrow $7,000.
I think it's been done.
And let's say
Now I
interest
want
rates
to
are
focus on more
6%.
squeezing sets.
So interest rates are 6%.
At least for the most part.
That means that you're going to spend
Okay, so this is definitely what I would describe as a little bit of a funkier movement.
your money
But,
more.
I mean,
At the end
clearly
of
I
the
still
year,
think it warrants
you owe
doing, because I'm about to do it.
$7,420.
So, basic premise
Borrow $7,000.
is
You have to pay us
I'm going to
6%
grab two 45s,
to borrow
hold them
money.
kind of in front of
So
my body
you owe
like this.
$7,000.
And there's not going to be so much of a stretching aspect like
So
a
next
pec
year,
line,
year two,
but
start
I'll
with
try to
$7,000,
flex my
$40,000.
pecs to pull the weight
You spend
upwards
$7,000,
in
so
this
you
direction.
owe another
You get what I'm
$7,000.
saying? So, even though it's not like a full
So when you
stretch
do-
of the pec fly,
Well,
I
you
don't.
owe that $7,000.
This is definitely up there with one of the
So
movements
you
where I
borrow
can
that.
flex
And
my
now,
pecs the
but
hardest
you
to get
also
crazy
have the
burn.
money from last year,
So,
the $7,000.
this definitely is not like, this should not be a staple in your
So now
routine,
you owe
but, you know, I'm interested in trying all sorts of new shit,
plus you owe
so I like throwing it in
on this
only
tax.
every so often.
So
If
you
you've seen
owe
the last like 20
$50,000.
chest days, I mean, I haven't done this, but
And next
every so
year,
often just to change it.
$7,000 again.
Plus, if you're relatively
Borrow
lean and you're wearing a
$7,000,
stringer,
you still
this
have
looks fucking
$15,000.
badass, because all your fucking fibers poke out of nowhere. So let's
And
just
so
do
you can
maybe one
continue
here,
on.
probably just move on to
So at
something
the end
else.
of
Part of the
year
reason why
10,
I'm even doing this
you
is just because
owe
all the cables are taken,
$100,000.
but it's a good
And of
substitution
that
in my mind.
100,000, you know, about 14% of it is just interest payments. And if interest rates go up to, let's say, interest rates went to 8%. Now, oops, let's see. Now what would happen is that your amount of money goes up. So you owe goes way up. And now you're about 20% of those interest payments. On the other hand, if interest payments go down to 1%,
Okay.
then the amount that you owe is $17,000. So interest payments really,
All right.
really important.
Let's do something else.
What
But
were interest payments?
honestly, with those, like no joke, I feel like I can't even flex my pecs any fucking harder
For like for
than
government
that
bonds.
top portion. They're still kind of fucking
We're
burning.
about zero.
But let's do
That means
let's
that
do
the
a pec
government
deck
and
next.
companies were, you know,
Luckily, a fellow
because
gym
during the
patron
recession,
is
what happened is that
gonna let me work
yeah,
in and save me from
they
losing my
basically
pump.
said to all these
Nothing else to say
banks
other than I'm
and
gonna
loans, you can borrow
stack
money
around
at
and
zero interest rate.
try to burn out.
So a lot of banks and people bought money at zero interest, you know, borrow money at zero interest rate. Because, you know, if the interest rate's zero, right, then it means that, you know, your amount that you owe is just.
Let's call it there, and
just what you borrow.
let's just do something else. I like this, but I don't like it that much. Rare occurrence for this gym. I've got two cables right next to each other to do some freaking bent over cable press. So plan as a finisher is just do one set, reasonably heavy, you know, bend over, really good squeeze, whatever. But then for the last set, I'll do more of a drop set style finisher. But, you know, I'm just gonna try to freaking burn out with this first one. Get ready to finish this chest day off.
Deficit, I mean debt, because of all the accumulation, yeah, and just so we're clear, this amount here, accumulation, that's the debt, right? The deficit is what you are short in a given year, it's always 7,000. The debt is the accumulation of it all. And so that's why if you never pay off your debt, as a country, if you you don't pay off,
Let's do that one more time and do a drop set.
the times are good,
And then we go to the posing room and check this shit
then
out.
you're just going to keep on accumulating more debt. And so that's pretty much what the U.S. has done. That the U.S. has gone through, and you can see is that you have a blip here. Why did you have a blip there in terms of that? Yeah, World War II. So you think that in wars that yes, you're going to have an increase, but then it stayed kind of constant for a long time. And then you see this is where Reagan comes in office. And Reagan implemented huge tax cuts. And so you start to see
Whenever I do cable stuff like this too, I kind of like to have my palms facing each other. If I do it like this, I feel like my front delts take over.
Goes up, and then
Let's go check the pump.
And then it goes really, really up. So it goes up about $30 trillion.
Still fresh.
$31 trillion. That means that
Core Power helps
all
you
of us,
rise to a whole new level of
so we not
recovery
only have
with 42 grams of protein.
$1.38 trillion a year.
All right.
Short.
Let's,
So we owe basically, because we're the ones who
check this shit
ultimately
out.
have to pay it off.
8 sets of
We're
chest.
not only
Done.
owe $1.38 trillion.
Feel
We owe
fully
$30
pumped, but let's see if
$31
see if the
trillion.
visuals match the
So
word I'm trying to say
the
is.
deficit versus the debt, right? Deficit is basically.
So this will kind of serve as
Deficit is what you owe every year, which is
kind of
short.
baseline,
The debt is the
in a
accumulation
sense.
of all those things.
right? Because this is the last day.
So if
I
you
mean,
look
I'm
and you
gonna
think,
go-
well, all right, so what can we cut, right? From if we wanted to balance our budget, what would we
Go
cut?
eat a shit ton of food tonight, but this is the last time I'm gonna be like really depleted for a pump
So
check.
$1.38
So let's,
trillion is what
Let's
we're
make sure to
short.
take notes so we
So
can
if we
see
say, well, these
changes
are-
over the coming.
So let's go through and cut some.
I mean, I say weeks,
So
but
what would
honestly,
you cut?
probably even
You have to
freaking
get rid of all of Social
days.
Security. And that's still really good. So basically, all of Social Security and health. What if you just said, we want to cut
It's kind of
defense?
floating around a little bit. That's pretty
81
badass.
trillion, takes you part of it there, but not a whole lot. So you can see is that, there's a problem. Because it's not like you can just go through, but, they're gonna shut down the government. They've done this before. They're gonna shut down the government, they shut down the parks, national parks. Things like road construction stops, all these different things stop. And what happens is that people get upset, and also Social Security checks stop. All these other things happen when the government shuts down. And so then people get upset because they say, hey, politicians, don't sit there and shut down everything just because you can't come to an agreement. And so then,
Maybe,
it starts to kind of
How about a little bit of
momentum will
freaking
build. Actually, the thing that
vacuum?
like the last shutdown.
With the chest pump,
2
the
years
vacuum
ago,
still looks
3
pretty
years
cool.
ago when they shut
This
down
is all this is like
before.
extra thick on
And the
top.
thing that really opened it back up is that they shut it down right before a holiday. And of course, when they shut it down, air traffic controllers are all federal employees. And so they cut back on the air traffic controllers. And so it meant that they only emergency flights.
Let's run through a couple more, and
So essentially, right before
then we can
Thanksgiving,
stop
they
freaking
had a shutdown.
admiring
so
and just go finish off the
potentially
lift.
executives at airports are going to come and say, well, all that holiday travel, sorry, no airline flights this year because they're
So I mean,
shutting
yeah,
it
we
down.
definitely.
And then Christmas, same thing. So that's why, even though they're going to
This
shut
is
down,
definitely leaner
the
than the end of the
expectation
last
is that
bulk
it's not gonna last very
by a
long
considerable degree. But I don't think I really cut into any of the muscle mass.
If they can't fly
Yeah,
back
fucking-
Thanksgiving,
if
fly
I did,
back
I
for
mean,
Christmas,
Not
because there's some
fucking
shutdown.
much.
But
Let's
the
do one
point
more
being
last
is
spread,
that
and then
those are, like,
then we can put a
see
tank
this,
on and get ready for
right?
side delts.
Some transportation, and then the other government things, that's national parks. So the things that people really care about, you could cut all that stuff out, and it wouldn't even get in this $1.38 trillion.
All right, so I guess I better enjoy having a reasonably empty stomach midday, as I have right now, because once I start
So
bulking
the other
up,
way to look upon
like I was
this
saying,
is
my
that
weight
you
is
look
going to
upon
skyrocket a
debt
couple of
as
pounds
percentage of GDP.
in the first week or so.
Because what GDP is
And-
income.
Right, most of it's going to be
GDP means
water,
how much money
most of
you
it's going to be
have. So
intramuscular
right now,
carbs.
we're at,
But
we
there's
know
going to be a
about
couple pounds too of just
120%.
having more food in my stomach, right?
So
Just
what that
when
means is that even if they took
just because you
all
eat like
the money
2 pounds of
that we
food,
all made
it
this
doesn't
year
just
and
go
say,
straight into your
no
fucking
one's going to be able to buy
your cells,
food,
your freaking
housing,
vacuums
anything
or whatever else.
Everything is
Gotta
gonna
sit
go
in there for a
just
little while.
beyond the debt.
So
We
if
still
you're eating
need
like
that because of
thousands
the
upon
over
thousands of
100%.
calories a day,
We owe over
just by
100%.
nature of taking in that much food, you're kind of gonna get a little bit of a
And the
thicker
other thing
midsection.
is
And not because
this
your
interest payment
midsection
last
has
year
thickened
was
up.
$475,000.
I'm just gonna have more freaking food in my belly. So I'm gonna be like, I mean, when I'm like fully stuffed after some kind of huge meal or whatever, like I'll be walking around like literally with a fucking full stomach.
So
Because
means
I'm
that
literally fucking stuffed.
we're spending
But
115
that's a good feeling in terms of the bulk. You know, I'm not excited to bulk and start eating foods because I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait to eat. Insert this food. Oh my god, I can't wait until I can have pizza again. I can't wait until I can have donuts and cereal again. Like, that plays a part. That definitely plays a part, you know. Because sweet treats and shit like that, they're just enjoyable. Right? It's nice to eat. It tastes good. But what really gets me going is the fact that I will be in a bulked state. You know, it's like, I don't care about the food itself. I like the feeling and, you know, everything that comes along with just being fully bulked. You know, walking around fucking fully carved up, just feeling heavy. Plus, I know that I'm actually gaining muscle and I'm making tangible progress. Like, you know, for whatever reason, the bulked state is kind of where I'm probably the most comfortable. I just like it the most.
So that's why oftentimes,
you know, this reasons, whatever, all encompassing. I think I like being bulked up more than I like trim it down. But you got to take the bulks with the cuts. Because the way that I've kind of been training, right? Let's say this line right here is, you know, the fucking, let's say this line is 200 pounds when I started bulking, right? I went up to 230 on the first bulk, got down to 220, then like 245, 230. Like, bulked up, hit weight A, cut down, hit weight B. But this weight is still above the beginning, if you get what I'm saying. So, after the process of doing a full bulk and then a cut, you should be heavier and be holding on to more muscle at the end of that little loop than you did in the beginning. Which, I'm not saying you can't do a main gaining style of training where you just hit your protein, you eat as much food as you're hungry for, and you train hard. Yeah, that'll work. I did that for the first 3 years of lifting, and I got pretty freaking big. But I've been on a bit of a bulking and cutting spree, and I don't foresee stopping it anytime soon. So let's go get some side delts started. So, and I say this every freaking time I talk about side delts. No need for anything fancy. No need for even a ton of variability in the workout itself. I think I'm going to do a couple different kinds of side lateral raises, just kind of to change it up for fun. But I'd be perfectly satisfied just sitting here spamming 8 sets on this machine, or doing standing dumbbell or one-arm dumbbell. But I think I'll do all 3 today just to change it up. You know, it's never going to hurt you to add more variability to the training, but you know, sometimes it's not it's not always necessary. Like, I'll be perfectly satisfied with a bicep workout, just dumbbells, you know, alternating curls, like normal, if they feel really good, and I feel like I'm, you know, thrashing my biceps. So, you know, you kind of want to I'd say you want to do a combination of like enough movements where you know you're hitting the targeted muscle completely. But, you know, maybe stick to the ones that you like the most, that just feel the most comfortable. So, don't take that as an excuse not to squat or some shit like that. Like, oh, I don't like squatting. Like, you get the idea I'm trying to say. Let's just throw this shit around.
Yeah, you have another. Is this another reason to have nuclear war? No. Okay. So like, and then. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is called, well, I mean, Argentina is close. So there's been lots of times what happens at the country. So, you know, the country starts going into real debt. Right? It starts to, like, this thing starts to increase to 30. This starts to increase.
Yeah, let's do fucking
120,
like 3 minutes here.
400.
You know that feeling of having to rewash dishes that didn't get
The way
cleaned?
countries get out of it.
I don't.
Cascade Platinum Plus with double the grease fighting power and double the scrubbing power for a no rewash clean and a cabinet ready shine. Upgrade to Cascade Platinum Plus. Dare to dish differently.
$30 trillion.
Yeah, and they're impressed.
Critics rave. Next Goal Wins is a triumphant crown.
That pays it off. money's backed up by nothing. Money is just, that's why crypto is such a great thing. I mean, because crypto, I mean, it used to be that money was backed up by gold, right? And that caused lots of problems because it meant that if the economy wants to grow, is that you have to grow, get more gold.
That's enough here.
Grow your money supply. Because otherwise
My
you're
shoulder
set.
training, I don't really end up going so intensely as like chest, just because for me, you know, shoulders are kind of ahead of the
They
game.
got rid of the gold.
I really just have to
Every once in a while
hit
you
them,
hear
get a pump,
politicians say,
and that's all right for me. But
Because what they're
if
trying
your
to do
shoulders
is-
are slacking, right, do not take the gas off just because you're doing a
But,
bunch of sets
no,
of
it's
side
not.
delts in a row.
I mean, money
Like,
is
seriously fucking
all
push it.
money exists is
And
just,
this is kind of a
if you think about
rare
money,
situation.
it exists
If you have a
because
muscle that's
I'm gonna give
ahead of the
you
curve on your
this
frame,
piece of paper,
then it
and
would make
you
sense to kind
are
of
going to
chill out on it a
agree
little
to take
and
it.
let everything else kind
And
of
what
catch up.
you're trusting is that when you turn around with someone else, they're going to accept it. That's pretty much it. And that we can all pretty much, you know, we have something that we agree that we're going to use, but there's no intrinsic value.
Chop. So
There's nothing like,
let's do some dumbbell stuff.
you're not going to
Change
use
it up
that.
a little.
If
I was
people
getting
don't
ready to
agree
do
with
some
the side, you say, oh, good.
Side delt like single arm something or other on like a bench
No, it
with
just
like a
exists.
single, but all the
And
benches
this is
are
why
taken.
crypto from the start.
So instead of sitting here waiting, I'll just do two sets of standard lateral raises with the 50s.
Why is
So
crypto
this is
have value?
pushing the weight that I can
Other than
handle for
crypto
a
has
legit
value
set,
because
no swinging.
because,
You know, with side delts, I have a very different approach than I do with like chest, like I was doing before. Like
it's worth it to me to buy it.
with biceps, I don't mind doing a set of dumbbell curls where I'm like
That's called gambling.
literally swinging the shit around.
All you're doing.
But with
is
side
you're
delts,
trying to guess
there's really no need. I mean, go as heavy as you can
So
go
you think other
without swinging, but I think controlled reps
For
are
some
more
reason,
so like
then
burning
you
sets
buy it.
for your shoulders.
But what you
You're gonna
see
be
with
better
things
off.
like crypto,
You know, there's no
is
need
that
trying to seriously wrench
it
them with
goes
like
like-
as
it
much
does
weight as
what's
you can
called
do,
volume.
fucking 10 plus swinging.
the value goes up and up and up and up and up.
In that
and then
sense, I
it
kind of
starts.
contradict myself in my style of training.
Because what
But
happens
you
is
gotta
all these
approach
people
some
find-
muscles differently than
all the way
others.
through they think
So let's
there's
spin
not
this around for
this is just a pause.
probably 2, I think.
And at some point, if at some point it's going to go down, and so when it starts going down, that's when I need to go through to sell. So what they do is they wait. And once they see it start going down, then everyone sells. And so then the price of crypto just crashes. It hasn't crashed all the way. Right? Crypto is still, like Bitcoin is still fairly high. Who uses Bitcoin? Yeah. You use Bitcoin? Excellent.
Okay.
So, but who is it that, I mean, I mean, because you don't need to use Bitcoin this soon. You could just use regular money if you wanted to. Like when you go into the market, you probably don't pay with Bitcoin.
All right.
So you don't need it.
Now let's do some single arm dumbbells on an
Bitcoin kind of
incline
went out
bench.
of business and doing it.
A little bit of
So
variability.
now people buy
I'm
Bitcoin.
gonna do some single-sided
Just to hold Bitcoin.
lateral raises.
So who is it that
but
really uses Bitcoin?
slightly more of a complicated setup because I'm doing them on this incline bench. So basic premise,
Drug
like,
dealers.
kind of the whole
Right?
point to even
People
doing
who
it
do,
is
people who do
the fact that I'm kind of standing at like an
Bitcoin
angle
is
like
great
this.
for that
means
because it's not
there
traceable.
is no point where there's no tension on my side delt.
It's not. It's
Because you
not
gotta think, when you're
traced.
doing side
And so
laterals
it's great for
standing,
for doing
right,
that.
this is the total
So, I
resting
mean,
position.
I
You
think
got no tension on your side delt. You're just letting the weight
when I
fall
look
down.
at this, as
But
I
when you
think,
do a
well,
set
why
like
hasn't
this,
Bitcoin gone to
and you're at an
zero?
angle,
It's because
when you
there's
get to
always
this bottom
this
portion of the rep,
group of people
you
who want to
always
use
got
it for
tension
this
on your
activity.
side delt.
As long as it has some
So
positive.
obviously it's the same movement. I'm still going from here to here with load,
And
but
it is good
it just
for
feels a little bit different. So much lighter. I'm only
It's
doing the
good
30s.
for money.
2 of these, and then we go check the pulse.
But at the same time, you're not going to see like what they used to talk about Bitcoin. It's like all the stores would start taking Bitcoin. Maybe you're going to McDonald's and you get Bitcoin at McDonald's and things like that. In fact, you know this Sam Bankman-Fried, you've been hearing about, they're following this. Oh, it's a big trial that's going on right now. For this guy is you must be following this. Do you know what I'm talking about? Sam Bankman-Fried? No? Guy with wild hair. What he did is that he ran a company. And that this company, what it was set up to be, to basically, you could put your money, your regular dollars in there, right? Put your regular dollars in there, and then it would buy the Bitcoin. But then whenever you wanted to convert it, you'd come back and say, okay, I want to sell my Bitcoins. And they would have $300. So it was this important thing because it meant that if you had $1,000 and you wanted to buy Bitcoin, any piece of the Bitcoin, you could go to them and you could give them your $1,000 and then you buy a Bitcoin. And if the price of Bitcoin went up to $2,000, then you could go back to them and say, okay, I want my $2,000 now, right? And what the deal was that they were going to be like a real safe, they would have their money backed up by something, but the real money would be backed up by something. So the idea was they would take this money and they would put it in, treasury bills or whatever it was going to be, just something that would be safe, so that your money would actually be there if you ever wanted to come back.
All right. I think the lighting's good right here. What am I talking about? No need to go over that fancy little pose.
Turns out that what he was doing
just side
is he was
delts.
taking
I'm not
money
even
and
close
he
to
had
like
invested
gassed
in another
on
company.
those sets.
He put it all into another company.
Definitely.
So
it's,
like that. Into this other
a couple
company.
little shots.
And that was what he was going to be backed up with. And the other company had his own
There we go.
cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that's what I'm fucking looking for.
And this cryptocurrency was one he just made up. So that he then took the money, just the real US dollars, and spent it on mansions and travel and everything else. And then and then on the books then, it looked like it was all in this company. This other company was all backing up. The other company was just not. So that's why when the price of crypto fell, and then suddenly all these people started coming back.
Get
and saying,
a
"Hey, I can turn my crypto
front, rear latch spread, and then get the F out of
is
here.
that there was no real money there. All the real money was gone. And so he could only say, well, here, you can have my crypto instead. So that's where it all went south. So no, I don't have crypto. And no, I wouldn't recommend you buy crypto unless you're a drug dealer. And so if you're a drug dealer or you want to
Shoulder
move
bump.
arms,
It's just freaking fun. I mean, even me just like sitting here, not even flexing or anything, they still kind of fucking
I'm going
burn.
to guess that we're not actually. Okay. So is it? So we're talking about.
Hopefully
so
this
the
most
US
muscular
government
gets,
is debt.
you know,
Is
a
it has
multitude of
deficit.
times freakier
It has a debt.
once I'm
Is
fully
that
fucking
always
carved
bad?
up and
So is it always bad
But
for you
don't
to,
don't think I'm not satisfied with where I'm at this current fucking moment. But I am excited to fucking just get physically bigger. Let's well, I'm gonna do calves, but for you, let's get in the fucking car.
Well, you as an individual, do you,
Super Sweeper
do you
Dry
have
Cloths
debt?
grab dust and hair and lock it away. Better than
No,
a
does anyone here have
Love
debt?
it or your money back.
What do you have debt for?
This story is becoming a nightmare.
All right, so calves was
Okay.
well.
And do
let's
you,
just break
does
that
anyone
down.
have any
Shoulders
other
was
money
sick.
that they owe?
Chest was solid as well as a starter.
Like student loans?
Solid calf
right?
pump
So
too. I
you
like
went
that
into
calf
debt
raise
for
machine.
debts.
But when I was
Barcades.
fucking throwing the plates off the calf raise, I smushed the fuck out of my middle finger right on the tip of it. I don't know if you can. Whatever. This thing is fucked.
Good debt.
Kind of a
Oh,
little
you
bit
mean
of
mortgage like a household home mortgage?
last day of the cut, but what do
So
you
home
gonna do?
mortgage, good debt.
Shit.
Student loans,
It's not
good
broken,
debt.
but I mean, it's like if you hit your fucking nail with a
And how do you
hammer.
know whether student loans?
That sucks for me. It's the first time I'd ever fucking like pinched my
Depends on
finger in
what-
between the weights like that,
I mean,
though.
traditionally,
So, you know, I can
going
only
and
be
getting an
so upset
undergraduate
with myself,
education
right?
meant that you had.
It's not a problem to make a
the most-
mistake once.
The most valuable
If you
thing
do it again, then
in
you're
terms of
fucking
raising your future income.
So this is only
So that's traditionally been.
the second
So,
lift
I
that
mean,
has been recorded
it's-
where I kind of
It's,
banged
a lot of people are
hands.
souring on it
The
now.
last
but
time
it
this
still
happened
seems to
similarly
be
was
you know,
I was
if you look at
re-racking the
people's
150
long-term
and
income
I overshot
with
both of them at once.
college degrees or
Just
not,
like
college
smushed
degrees
them.
goes like this. Other people go like that.
I'm gonna be
They go
feeling
like
this
that,
for a
right? They
while.
start higher.
But I'm not gonna
But then
let
they
it fucking
flatten out. That typically is
deteriorate
the
my
way.
mood.
So that's why it's
I'm
always
freaking
been
excited.
seen that college degrees
So,
are a good investment.
Head over to
Because
Wendy's.
it's worth it to go into debt here, because you're gonna,
Oh my
you're
goodness,
be on
yeah.
that
Definitely
path.
gonna kick. So I guess in a sense, this is the first day of the bulk. But
On the other hand, if you,
I'd call
when
this
we
almost a
talk about
bulk
medical school,
pregame.
and we said medical
You know
school,
what I'm saying?
you run up like a Kirby Medical School,
Tomorrow will
$300,000
actually be
in
day
debt.
one for sure.
So there, what you're
So
hoping
then,
is
as far as
that
back day will be the
you're
first
hoping that
lift
you're going to end
of
up
the
with
bulk
this,
where I'm actually
right, way up here on
starting to be
top,
bulked
which
up, carved up.
is- And
This
the problem
lift
is that
was
if you have
still
all this debt,
cut.
and then
So
you
that
don't
was the,
go to medical
I
school,
mean, shit, man, that
then
post
you're
down
on
was
one of
basically
these
the finale.
trajectories.
That's my
And so
final
then you owe a
state
whole bunch of money
of this cut.
that, you know, for a doctor, they have
$233.
$8,000 they can do it.
Lock it
But
in your
for you and me,
minds.
that's $300,000.
I definitely
Much
want to
tougher to
get
do.
into the
So that's why
250s.
people who start medical school and
260,
drop out,
260, we'll have to see, you know. It's not necessarily
they're
about
in trouble.
the
Because they
number,
have all this-
like the
all this
number of pounds, like
in
that's a
this
good
debt,
indicator of
and
growth.
they're not being
But
studied.
I don't have a specific, you know, numerical goal
So
to hit.
the reason, so therefore, you know, your student
Keep on my
loans
frame as I can
here
in the bulk,
is an investment.
and wherever that ends up being,
And that what you're doing is you're
I'll be
taking a
satisfied
chance. You're saying,
as long as
"Well,
I
all this
know,
money,
you know, I was eating my calories,
and
I
that
was
in
training
return
hard, I
for
was
that,
sleeping
I
good,
think I'm on this
staying
path
nice and
here."
well hydrated, this,
That's
that, and the
what
other.
I'm going
Sweet,
for.
freaking
home,
sweet. So,
Buying a
I
home,
mean,
good
I'll have to.
investment.
I'm not going to record it now, but we'll get a.
Depends
I'd say
on-
within the week we'll do a
Depends when you buy a
bulk
home.
full day meeting plus the bulk grocery haul.
So a lot of
It'll be
people,
another long
you know,
one.
a lot of people in the.
I know some of you guys get a little bit tired of the hour-long
Because
videos.
what you hope that when you buy a home
I don't know if
is
it's
that
going to pump
the
out
price is.
4 hour-long
You hope that,
one of these in a row.
that your price, because if you're paying,
Kind
what,
of spread out
$1,200 a
those
month,
extra ones
something like that
in
in
the course
your
of time
mortgage.
instead of just spamming them all at
Excuse
once.
me, in rent, and your mortgage
Well, I
is
didn't know the way to get to
$1,700 a
the
month,
ways.
something like that.
And
You're hoping that
just
what you're
trying
gonna
to
do is that
anyway.
$1,700 is
So,
gonna help you buy a house.
Back
And so therefore,
in
you're
rear
paying all this
delts
extra money,
is on the
as a
agenda
way
for
of saying that,
tomorrow.
you're gonna,
It'll be a solid lift,
future
plus
you own
actually
this
being
house.
carved up. I mean,
And so then, therefore,
that
the
was
house will
freaking
be
sick.
worth a
Should
lot
be as
more.
wide of a back
So
bump
you'll
as
get
I've
this
had
house. And it truly has been.
in recent
I mean, if
weeks.
you look at,
Just from
the
being
case for
in a deficit,
reparations,
you know, I am
for African
technically smaller.
The case for
My muscles
reparations.
are kind of shrunk
one of
down
the-
to their
One of
pretty much their smallest
drug
stages. I'm
consequences
not full of
you can look at
glycogen and water and
for how
whatever else.
African Americans were
So
screwed.
I
is
still
that
get
during
good
the
pumps when I cut
1970s,
down,
1960s, and 50s,
but
there were a lot of
bulked up,
home loans
I mean, just the sheer mass
that were given to
and
people,
the
but
amount
they
of
were
blood getting
they
flowed
excluded
around,
African Americans.
it
And
should
so as a
be on
result,
another
is
level.
that was
I
a
think that's kind of why
major
I'm
way
usually
that
like
people got, you know,
a little bit
people
more
got in,
giddy
or got
with the
well,
pump checks
is by
when I'm
owning
bulked
this
up,
home.
just because that's when I'm like legit just fucking
So the idea is that if your house, you can own a home that goes up in
relative
value,
to what I
that's
normally
great.
am, you know what I'm saying?
What happened during the Great Recession,
That
back in 2008,
would be
is that,
freaking.
you know, home prices through
Now,
the
even
2000s
I'm gonna start the
were
bulk.
going,
Cardio will
the
not
house
stop.
prices, right? House
Cardio
prices
is
were
not
going
gonna
up
stop
from
just because
2000
I'm bulking.
to 2000.
If anything,
They were
oh,
going
okay, I
up.
won't say it's more important to do
So if
cardio
you had a
than
house
it is on a cut.
that,
But
you know, sort of worth like this amount,
you gotta do your cardio whether you're
meaning
maintaining,
that your mortgage is
maintaining,
set now,
bulking, cutting,
it looked
whatever.
like
I don't
you
understand why you wouldn't
were,
want to.
you had made a lot of money.
I hear the argument a lot, like, if I burn 300 calories on the bike, then I'm gonna have to eat another 300 calories to make
We
up
bought
for it.
it for
You can get 300 calories down in 0.01 seconds.
this house.
300 calories is not a lot.
2 years before,
And just by doing the cardio, you're gonna be hungry for those 300 calories. You didn't just burn them off. Well, I guess you did, but what I'm trying to say is,
and they
you
turned
just
it down
burned
because
off
they wanted to get up to
300 calories.
100,000.
So now your body's kind of telling you, like, okay,
So-
I gotta eat 300 more.
That's a case where,
Right?
did they own an $880,000
Skipping it, dude.
house?
I think you're seriously just leaving gains on
They
the table.
owned a $322,000.
For me, I mean, I feel like I have a better
There was a
appetite
house involved,
on the bulk
so that it
when I
looked
do my
like all
cardio
these
on a
housing
consistent
prices
basis,
were
just
really
because I'm
high. But
freaking
really, then,
a little
what
bit more of a
crashed, right?
efficient machine in a
They
sense.
crashed back in
The more
2000.
calories that you
So
burn
housing
per
prices,
day,
you know, sit here
the more calories that you're gonna
big
need to
house
stay the same
boom
weight.
in the-
So it's gonna be
in the
easier for you
2000s,
to be hungrier.
and just sort of crashed.
Kind of catch
In
what you're trying to
2008, housing stopped because of this. All these houses were
ready
being
for
built
this freaking
with the expectation that they're going to
first
get
order.
$500,000
Now,
for it.
you know, when I eat all
And so
my,
the houses are selling
I guess what
$200,000.
the general public would consider trash in terms
So,
of just hitting my
you know, for
caloric
them,
needs.
for the people
If
that
I
have bought
actually
them,
like
they
started
bought
putting
a
on
house.
excess body fat,
So they were,
then I'd pump the brakes
they
and
were
I'd just be eating
out,
chicken and rice.
but they definitely were sad.
You know, calories are calories.
Because they thought
So getting food
in their
into your
minds, they
system
had gotten used to
to
the idea
a
that
point
they
where
had
you actually
a
gain weight,
$100,000 house.
right?
And they
That's
didn't
what
even
determines
think
whether or
about
not you're
that.
bulking successfully,
But what a lot of
or
people
if
did
you just
is
think
that,
you're bulking
you know, is that
and
they
you're
were
really just
told by
gaining
mortgage
weight. You know, anytime anybody ever asks me,
your house is worth
how can I,
800,000,
you know, what do I need to, what kind
and
of
you
foods do I
only
need
owe
to eat to bulk?
150,000 of it. So therefore,
To an extent, I
you've
kind of
got
just say like,
$650,000
whatever you like.
in equity.
Obviously,
in your
get your
house.
protein in from
So why don't you
dedicated
borrow
protein
the money?
sources.
So people borrow
Fish, eggs, chicken,
up to, let's say,
dairy,
up to
shit like that.
$700,000 or
I
$500,000.
animal protein.
So now their mortgage is there.
But
Because they think, well,
that,
I still own
and
that.
if you're just trying to get that scale to change upward and you can't, like you're
But what
having trouble
happens is
with
that
it,
then when the housing
eat some
prices
sweets,
crash,
man. Anything that you
now
can do to get calories in
they
your system.
owe
That's what you're gonna have to
$700,000 on their house.
Vice versa is true if you're trying to cut down.
$200,000.
You know, if you think that you're dieting,
So
but
that's
you're
why
really
people
just staying the
saw
same weight,
foreclosures during the
you're
2008
getting too
recession.
much calories in the
Because
system.
all these people
So you
have
gotta
been told
pump the brakes.
that, oh,
Maybe
you
eat
can
some
more
stuff
money
that's a
if you
little
want
bit
to
more,
stay in your house.
or a little bit less calorically.
So that's why
dense.
homeownership is a
If I
good
were to eat a
thing.
bowl of cinnamon
Yeah.
toast crunch on my
It's
diet,
going to
sure I can do
homeownership is
it,
not a good thing.
but it just
If you buy
wouldn't
here,
fill me up
and then
that
it goes
much
there.
as like
But then you're always going to
eggs,
you owe
keto bread would.
$700,000 because your house is worth $200,000.
Hey, can I get 3 spicy chicken sandwiches, a large fry, and then a
Yeah,
large
it's a good question. What if they put this money in
pumpkin
bottom
spice
property, which
frosty?
is what a lot of people did, right? A lot of people,
That'll be it.
they might keep their file, because at the time,
Thanks. Cut to
probably
once I
too
get
young
the
to
food and
remember
stuff.
this, but I
It's
remember
fucking
being in the
awkward to
market,
record somebody like that.
and I was
while they're working.
standing there buying milk,
All right.
and
The
there
goods
were
have
these
been
two,
freaking
this
obtained.
woman and this man,
So,
they were younger.
but I feel like
So
I've been
they're
kind of
talking-
repeating
and they're
myself
talking
when I
about
say
flipping
this,
houses.
but
They're
it
talking about,
definitely
yeah, we
is
flipped
worth
this home, now we buy
noting
this thing.
because I feel
I
like
remember sitting there thinking to myself,
anybody that
these
is
people,
gonna
I don't
read
know,
or like
in
see that like I
about
gained,
homes.
you know,
I was
like
sitting
8
in the
pounds in
market
like a
talking
week,
about this. I said,
they're
housing
instantly gonna
market's
jump
screwed.
to like,
It's gonna
yeah,
crash.
8 pounds in a week. How is
Because
that
what
even
happens is
possible?
that, people start wanting money and think,
Muscle in
hey,
one
I'm gonna
week?
go ahead and I'll
What?
buy a house for
Come on, be real.
$300,000.
That's not how this shit
Or
works.
no, I'll buy a house for $1 million.
This first week,
Right?
I'm gonna have a
I'll borrow
spike in weight
$500,000. I'll put in
just
$500,000.
from filling up with carbs, water,
I'll put in
sodium,
$500,000
everything
here
like that.
for this $1 million
Because right now
house.
I'm in a
So now
depleted
I
state.
own
Going to
$500,000
be
here.
in a
and I
full
own
state. So when I
I own
graph my weight every
$500,000
morning,
there.
there's gonna be an
And then
instant
if
spike.
this housing price goes
I mean,
up
just
by
from eating all this food tonight
by
and like
this
whatever
housing
else I
price
get
goes up,
from
I've got more money,
Kroger
so
in a
you
minute.
borrow it. So people can
I'm
easily
probably
go
gonna wake up
borrow
tomorrow
more
at
and more.
2:30.
But
I
then
don't
when
even know,
housing
maybe even
prices
2:40,
crash,
just because
you
I'll
know,
actually be
it
fully
crashes
fucking
here, but
carved
it
up.
also crashes
But
here.
that's
it
not
crashes
muscle.
to the other property as
That's
well.
just my
So they end up
muscles
owning
filling up
houses, $500,000.
water.
They end up owning
Right. So when you hear, you know, people talk about holding water and stuff like that, it's not always a bad
That's
thing.
what, that's
You know,
what-
when you're fully bulked up, you are
It's
holding
good,
onto a lot
that's
more
what-
water.
That's
But
why,
it's
you
intramuscular.
see housing prices
You know
that
what I'm
big,
saying?
they go
You know, when people talk about
and
a
then they
watery
crash, and they
look,
crash, they're suddenly
like, oh, you don't want to
all
hold on to a
foreclosed.
lot of water.
And then they stay
For the most part,
pretty
they're
low
talking
for a
about
while.
like bodybuilders, like
All
doing
these
a
people now,
bodybuilding show.
all
You know, where they're that little bit of like subcutaneous, like water under the skin, what actually matters. You do not have to freaking worry about that. Another little key aspect: don't worry about fucking holding on to water if you go and take your creatine. It's not something that you're gonna notice. It doesn't sound like a good thing to hold water, but no, intramuscular water is not gonna
like now,
affect the
is
way
it
you
worth
look
now
in
to buy
any
pumpkins?
noticeable freaking manner, apart from maybe being a little bit bigger. So, I think that's all I gotta freaking say, man. We're getting back into the real groove of things now. All I gotta do is make sure I don't
Maybe,
fill the passenger seat
I think it's
leg
hard to
space
do.
with
because you could say,
takeout.
you could say,
trash
well,
bags that
the housing prices is going to keep going up. Right?
If you've been on the fritz about bulking or
2008,
cutting,
housing prices have gone up, but you can also
you're maybe leaning towards bulking.
you know,
Shit, man, this is your
housing
perfect
prices may
fucking
not
cue.
go up. And so
I
in
know
all
for a fact
cases,
I'm gonna be bulking
it
hard,
takes,
so
I mean, it was
come along
bad
for the
during this
ride.
period because
You know,
banks
put
got
some beef on
into
your brain.
loaning people
Plus, it's
cheap.
wintertime now.
They shouldn't
Right?
have
This is basically when you would want to bulk.
$4,000.
I don't mean
They started
you as in
loaning.
like, you know, me. I
And then
kind of just mean in
They
general.
would then go
Like,
ahead and loan
people kind of don't.
an extra $5,000.
Well,
So banks
it just
were
makes sense.
comfortable.
You'd want to be
They chose
bulking
bonds.
in
I
the
don't know if
colder
banks would do
months
that.
when you're not walking around shirtless on the,
So
you know, the
I don't
pool
know
or
if it would
whatever
be the
else,
same,
and you want to be cut
same type
in the
of
summer.
cycle that was.
So,
But even
you know, I
so,
don't really subscribe to
it's
that
just-
ideology
because
of
you're talking
freaking bulking all freaking summer.
losing lots of
But
money.
if you were the
if you
guy
buy
let's say this. If this was you this year, then maybe you should just start your bulk now. You know, if last spring you were kind of thinking about cutting for summer,
And next
but
time,
you're
catch
not
somebody
really
that
that far. Maybe you should bulk a little bit
give
first.
us all a bit.
You may as well
Share
just
the
jump
wealth.
in. If that's your deal, if you want to be cut in the summertime, fuck me, maybe you should start bulk now. Hey, what up, player? Getting the car spotted. I'm more than likely probably going to regret the spicy chicken sandwiches, just because something about the spiciness aspect doesn't agree with me. But I love them so much, it's worth it. 50 grams of carbs each, 15 grams of fat, 25 grams of protein, about 60 grams of carbs in that large fry, and 15 grams of fat. And then, I need to look it up, I forget, I'm pretty sure the Frosty is about 8 grams of carbs. That is going to get freaking siphoned into my chest, siphoned into my delts, siphoned into my calves, all over the place. Once I'm totally filled up,